Ready, Councilors? Ready? Good evening, everyone. Will the Thursday, April 9th, Dune City Council meeting please come to order? Mr. Lynn, could we please get a roll call?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Rebecca Reedy.
Here.
Council President Jamie Mills.
Here.
Councilor Ed Scarberry.
Here.
Councilor Ken Platt.
Here.
Councilor Maurice Sanders.
I'm here.
Councilor Duke Wells.
Here.
And Councilor Sheldon Meyer.
Present.
Thank you.
Would everyone in attendance please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, councilors, I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda. So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve tonight's agenda. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay. I'll call for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, councilors.
So moved.
Second. Been moved and seconded that we approve tonight's consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay. We are on agenda item number 6, announcements. And I have an unscheduled announcement. I'd like to say happy birthday to my grandson, Alexander Pruitt. His birthday is today. So, yeah, I'm sure you would be embarrassed, but. The very first budget committee will be April 28th from 2 to 5 p.m. and will continue every Tuesday thereafter from 2 to 5 p.m. until the budget is approved. Any comments on that, councilors? Okay. The third annual Oregon Dunes Triathlon and Duathlon is scheduled for May 9th, 2015. That's a big announcement, and we'll hear more about that later on in the agenda tonight. And happy birthday wishes to Administrative Assistant Renee Green on the 18th. And in her honor, we will be having cake this evening, so everyone's welcome to join us for cake after the meeting. Moving along to agenda item number 8, citizen input. Do we have citizens signed up for input?
We do.
Yes, we do. All right, thank you. I will call Maurice Sanders to the front. Good evening, counselor, AKA citizen.
I'm planning to do this from this side of the dais. The Oregon Dunes Triathlon and Duathlon event that's coming in is coming up soon is going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of challenges out there with Florence, our elected officials in the assembly, the representatives, those kinds of people. And I understand we're even going towards Bonita next.
Yeah.
Duke Wells and I have signed up to be the Dune City Councilor team in the Duathlon Sprint. I'm going to do the plod and jog, and he's going to do the pedal to make it through this thing. And our goal is to survive the event. See, we set our goals really low. The reason for me being here, though, is that both Duke and I are veterans. I'm the commander of the American Legion Post here in the Florence area. And the American Legion Post is in the process of creating a new nonprofit corporation called the Florence Area Veterans Relief Agency. There are veterans in our community that at times run into unexpected problems, and this would be a way for limited emergency assistance to be provided for them. And we're doing the incorporation later this week. But here's where I'm at. I'm asking anyone and everyone who wants to be part of planting some seed money in this organization. They can do so. If you pledge to Duke's and my team $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever you can, it would be appreciated, and we would earmark it. It would go to the American Legion to be earmarked for this Veterans Relief Agency. I'm I'm going to be doing this on Facebook as well, and I have several hundreds of contacts there. But I would ask if anybody on the dais or the audience.
I'll give you 500.
Sir?
I'm in for 2. Coast Jewelers.
Thank you. I'm speechless.
200.
I'm speechless. I'm absolutely, thank you. There are some people out there, I met a combat vet just the other day that came back that had been discharged after being shot in the head in Afghanistan and totally disabled, and you know, he and his fiancee are making a go of their life here in this area, and if they get into trouble, I want that young man to know that this community cares. So I really appreciate that. But I'm asking everybody, if they want to plant seed money, get a hold of me, get a hold of Duke Wells. They can contact us through the city or on Facebook. The city staff can release my email address or whatever it is to get a hold of me. But on Monday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the incorporators are going to sign the documents, the articles of incorporation to create this organization. And it's very exciting. So thank you all for putting up with me.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm on Earth too.
Yeah. Wow. That's great, Counselor.
Counselor Sanders.
No, I mean, for Counselor Sanders, from Counselor.
Okay, as an elected official receiving cash.
Pictures?
Let the record show.
Yeah, let's get this on the record.
It'd be more appropriate if you gave it to him under the table.
Have you submitted your SEI yet?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Just so everyone knows, I've already contributed $100 to this to be the first contributor, so I've got skin in the game too.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Very welcome.
Sure.
Okay, so moving along to the next order of business is new business, agenda item number 8, and we have a special guest this evening. It's Liz Breon. She is the owner and operator of Coast Jewelers, located in Florence. However, she is a resident of Westlake, and she is coming this evening to give us a presentation that I know you'll all enjoy hearing. So Liz, you're on.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, I'm going to keep it short. I like short meetings too, so I'll try to be really concise. I'm wondering what happened to the Keep America Beautiful campaign that we grew up with. And I drive every day. I live on the backside of Syracuse out by Ada Resort, and I drive every day from, of course, across the bridge and south, and I'm just starting to look like Tijuana. So, and I thought something has to be done. I have gone, I pick up Lower Fiddle Creek Road and Ada Station Road. It's about a 3-mile stretch. And I just take my dog. It used to be once a year. Now I'm doing it every month and getting the same amount of garbage I got once a year. So things are getting way worse. I'm sure you've noticed, and I'm really getting tired of people saying, well, that's the homeless people doing that. I don't agree. It's really bad from the bridge to South Jetty Road, which is used by all the ATVers, and it's mostly fast food. So anyway, I started thinking and talking to some people. When we were younger, there used to be signs up, and there was one, as you cross the bridge going south, there used to be a sign that said no litter, with the red circle in the sign, you know, the red thing across it. And at the bottom it said there was a fine of, I think it was $500. Everybody seems to remember $500 on those signs. And I don't know, we were brought up with that, not to, I would never dream of throwing something on the ground. It just, anyway, so I don't think that educational thing, that's kind of going away, it seems. So I talked to some people, and we started thinking about how can we do two-stage thing, an initial cleanup, and then how do we maintain it? Because it just looks bad to tourists and things, and it seems to me that after I do the cleanup where I live, it stays litter-free for quite a while until some litter starts accumulating again, and then people get more liberal with throwing it out. So one of the things that I was thinking about doing was asking for the initial cleanup, asking ODOT what they could do about it. I think in the past they've done a lot of the cleanup. And then Lane County for Canary, I kind of wanted to include Canary Road because of your triathlon. It is really getting bad on Canary. And so if we start out with Honeyman Park, ask them to just clean up their road edges. That's a huge portion of it right there, between Lane County, ODOT, and Honeyman Park. And then we can put out just a request to the businesses. I know that I spoke with Gary and Annette Folio a little bit about this idea, and Annette volunteered for Gary, so I do need to confirm this with Gary, that they would give us the dumpster. They would have a container that we could put all the garbage in. The dump fee is something we need to figure out. Maybe, you know, I can raise money for that, or we can figure that out. But my first thing was to do an initial cleanup and get businesses and everybody involved, and try to do that before your triathlon. And I'm sort of thinking the week before. And does anybody here coordinate with Lane County, the mowing prior to your event? You do. So Fred, then,
That's Richard Perkins, the Lane County
Okay.
Supervisor here in Florence.
so what might be good is if we could, and please give me input. I'm open to any input anyone has ideas for this, but if we could get it kind of timed so that the cleanup happened maybe 2 weeks before and the mowing 1 week before.
Okay.
The worst thing is when they come and mow the litter, because then you started out with one aluminum can, now you got 40 chunks,
Right.
you know?
And
So,
it's even worse with plastic bags.
yeah, exactly. And the other thing I noted, big cities that you go to, they have filtration systems on their outflow of their river and culverts and all that, so that plastic bags and things don't get into the river. We don't have anything like that here. So maintaining it would be really cool. I don't believe in dirtying the nest I live in. I don't like it. So I want to do something about it. So anyway, sponsorship, we can get groups. I brought this giving back thing because a lot of the nonprofits are in here. Kiwanis, it used to be a sign up. I think that Kiwanis cleaned up a certain, maybe they still do, I don't know.
It is. Camp Florence.
Camp Florence?
Camp Florence kids. They have to do a lot of community service stuff.
So Camp
It's free
Florence would be
labor.
good.
Free labor.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, and I have seen crews years ago, they would bring ODOT would have crews of, I thought they were maybe people that were in jail, I don't know.
We were hired.
Pardon me?
Sheriff's Department.
Back,
Yeah.
I think some, however, they were on litter patrol, and they were actually school kids that actually earned a daily wage for doing it.
Okay. So anyway, on the initial cleanup, one of the things that, and I'm just throwing this out from Coast Jewelers, I'd be happy to make cool litter that we could put out for people to find, like items of jewelry, you know, pearl earrings, whatever, you know, we could figure out some different things. I don't know if that's a valid idea or not. I'm just throwing that out there if it were packaged so that people could actually, you know, an incentive to find something too. That's another idea I had, but, and then there would be, once timeframes were figured out, it would be simple to just do, I'm great at writing press releases, but the reason I came to Dune City instead of Florence about this is, I don't know, it just seems like the people that live outside of town, and I know you guys have your town here, but I mean outside of Florence proper, I don't know, we seem more concerned about these kind of things. And it just, yeah. So we see it every day when you drive in and out. I don't know, is it bothering you guys? I mean, I just think it's gross. Tourists come here and it just looks, it's like going from San Diego to Tijuana is what I think of. I do mission trips there and you cross the border and it's just like, oh my goodness. Somebody just bend over and pick some of this up. So anyway, those were my ideas. I'm open to, I think the first thing probably would be to set timeframes that work with your event. And so I'm thinking May 9th, that would be May 2nd would be right around that time frame or in that week to get the mowing done. And then the week before that would then be April what?
April 27th,
Thank you. And is that
a Monday.
Monday? So
Well, May 1st is...
we would want to do, what I was gonna
Would you
throw,
like to start it on a weekend?
I was gonna throw out that doing it on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, okay.
What are your thoughts?
26th?
More people in church.
26th or...
No, but I mean, like an afternoon from 2 to 5 p.m. It wouldn't take any more than that amount of time if we get enough people to.
So I understand this is a twofold problem. First, to go out, pick up the litter, and then do the mowing, brushing.
Right.
Would Richard be able to be available to do that after the litter's picked up?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not gonna commit for him, but he's the
Historically, he has,
right
yeah.
guy, yep.
Okay, so we do have someone here as a volunteer that would do that to follow up.
Seems like every year they mow about a week before your event
Yeah.
since it
Yeah.
started, and I think it's awesome. You know, it looks really good.
Like you said, the problem with doing it before the event or without doing a litter patrol first is
Yeah.
it just chews up the litter and makes it that much harder to pick
Oh,
up.
it's tough to pick up then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councilor Meyer?
I'm 100% in favor of this. The other thing that I would like to see is I would love to have Dune City become a Scotch broom-free
Yes.
community. And while we're
Okay.
picking up litter or while we're mowing
It's
and
right there.
that sort of stuff, if we could,
I didn't throw that in, but I think it's brilliant. Why, when they mow,
Yeah.
don't they remove the Scotch broom? I don't get it. And where I live, the 3-mile stretch where I live, we've got one neighbor that won't remove it, and we're not harassing him or anything, that's his land. But all of the rest of us, we have no Scotch broom. And it's really a problem, yeah. So I think that's excellent. Thank you for adding that, because it was on my list, but it's just secondary.
well, I don't want to complicate it, and I wouldn't want that to stop.
I don't think it has to.
I don't think it would have to either, but I
No.
really think that would be another real added benefit. And if we've got the containers to collect the stuff, we got to do something with it rather than just lay it on the road anyhow. So-
Timing is excellent too, because the Scotch broom is just starting to bloom.
Yeah.
And like, I'm always shocked why nothing's been done at Little Wahink Lake. It is so thick in there, it's crazy, unless it's holding the bank up, I don't know. I mean, people have planted it for that reason in some places, it's crazy. Yeah. So, are there does anybody have any other helpful suggestions on how to make this better?
I think to keep it from coming back, I think education is a good thing, more signage up, help keep our area clean. I do believe a lot of it is from people that aren't living here. I've seen stacks in an orderly set aside by the road that was set there and stacked cans just thrown out. It was left for somebody else to pick up. So I think education is a good thing, more signage up.
I think so too. What, do you think that it's possible to enforce it? With a $500 fine in our technology now, oh my goodness. We could fund all of the nonprofits in town if we put a camera up and busted everybody that littered south of the bridge for $500.
I think enforcement, I mean, you have to catch them and see it and, document it and all of that. It might be hard, but I think start off with just an education program.
Yeah.
That we're proud of our area and we'd like to keep it nice and clean.
Get them on the bandwagon. Yeah.
Yep.
And it'll be
signage.
before Roadie Fest and everything. It just seems like the timing is good. Spring cleaning, everybody's kind of got that yard cleanup thing going, so. Well, What do you think about the idea of putting out things from maybe a few different, I mean, I would do it from Coast Jewelers. What do you think about that idea? Is that over the top?
I think you get people looking for the stuff and leaving the garbage myself.
Okay.
Unless
So,
you tied it to how many Scotchbroom they removed and then.
Or,
oh, okay, that's good.
Pounds
of whoever.
Bag.
whoever has the most garbage gets nice Pearl Air.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
You'd have to assign the bags.
Yeah,
I don't know how we would work all of that, but, you know, in terms of people start bringing their household garbage to make the poundage go up, but I don't know, but I think it's a good idea, and maybe we can get, you know, Boys and Girls Club involved, or some of the other clubs involved, and get them excited about it, and make a reward for them. So I hate to start a committee to do it or anything, but,
I think with time, where it is in relationship to the event, I think time is of the essence.
Yeah.
And I think to get what needs to be cleaned up first, you know, specifically the Canary Road and probably a little bit of 101 on the
yeah.
highway. Is just take that bite of the elephant, that little piece, and let's digest that one and then develop this to take over, but it would solve the immediate problem of
Exactly.
the massive amount of people that are going to be here at Honeyman, so they can at least see some clean roadways.
Yeah.
That would be my suggestion.
and I have yeah, if I might, I have a hunch that Honeyman's gonna put the onus back on ODOT and Lane County. Because it's ODOT and Lane County right away.
Yeah.
Fred, would you be willing to work with me on dividing up the phone
Absolutely.
calls? You know some people that I don't.
Sure.
And I'm wondering, would we call the people that I have listed and just ask the business owners that live along 101, that could even be in the press release,
Right.
that we ask the business owners on that Sunday afternoon just to clean it up prior to the, you know, this could be maybe be a semi-annual type event, spring and fall cleanups or whatever, I don't
Yeah.
know. The beach cleanup is hugely successful. We could, like you say, I like your idea of developing it. Keep it simple the first time.
Things like the Rotary Club of Florence, the Kiwanis, these service organizations in the Florence area are phenomenal to taking on tasks like that. For example, the Rotary Club, I know, cleans up the little island at 101 and 126.
Oh,
And that is kept clear of garbage because you have Rotarians out there with the assigned responsibility that they take care of it. They make it a fun event.
yeah.
So I think making this a fun event would probably be the best way to ensure success.
So how do we throw fun in there?
You know?
Well, an idea might be that, because my fear with active, valuable trash, you know, like you're gonna put out something of value.
Gifts or
What
something.
would happen if it's not recognized as value and tossed into the dumpster? So, you know, maybe
Well, they would have to
something-
be gift wrapped, like
Well,
foil gift wrap.
Right,
something.
or you know,
Yeah.
like a number or
Yeah.
a box with a number in it that you turn in at City Hall. 'Cause
But I think that might be just too complicated for the first time. I kind of agree about developing that. I'm willing, but
I think we got some good coverage from the local paper indicating who was involved and what businesses were contributing and helping and that sort of, I mean, that's good for them too. You know, because they have to live in the same place that we do. And, you know,
Absolutely.
People know that they're doing a good job in helping.
Now, if I recall, Canary Road is a county road.
it is.
And I don't know if the county would have the sheriff's department road crew come out here with its people doing community service to go out there and do it. But if they did something like that, if you want to make it fun for these people that are doing the community service, there's nothing wrong with bringing a little barbecue out here and fry up some hot dogs and hamburgers for them and give them soft drinks and just say thank you. Because
Absolutely.
it's all part of the rehabilitation process, and that would let them know that they are a part of the community. So,
And I think Honeyman might even get behind that.
I'm
So
sure
we
they
can
will.
hold it at Honeyman.
I'm sure.
Oh, that's a good idea, because that's like a central location for the
Right.
dumpster to be placed or something too.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Well, why don't we flesh out some of the specifics of this? And I think since this is our only city council meeting before our event, we'll have to communicate via email and just get some press releases out and communicate that way. I mean, I don't see any other way around it unless someone has an idea. I mean, I suppose we could call a special meeting, but, Mr. Hillen?
What I would like to see, Mayor, is the council designate a date and time and the fact that this is an official Dune City sanctioned event so that staff feels, even though most of this time would be volunteer time on behalf of the staff, to work on this event and participate formally as the city.
Okay, so let's have a motion to that effect, councilors.
How would the motion be worded?
Dune City is,
Sanctioning.
would like to recognize and sanction a cleanup event prior to our triathlon, the first of an annual event to begin, May 2nd, Saturday, May 2nd?
I think we said
No, April.
Oh, April.
Sunday, April 26th.
4 weeks.
Okay, so moved.
Pardon me?
I'll second it, so moved.
Jamie seconded.
Okay, so the first annual Dune City cleanup will begin Sunday, April 26th in the afternoon from 2 to 5 o'clock. And we'll request and publicize for volunteers.
You have a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second. That's the motion that's on the table. And any questions or comments?
My only concern is the safety issue. I mean, do we have enough jackets for people to wear or or encourage them to wear the glow in the dark, especially on Canary Road?
The city of Florence and even ODOT might be willing to loan us.
Right.
And Lane County.
And
Well,
Lake County.
and we would, the first calls we need to make are to like ODOT and Lane County to find out if they will do the cleanup in terms of, bringing their crews to do it too.
True.
Then there will be much less to clean up for the general public.
I think we could leave it in Fred's capable hands to maneuver through this, and if there's ways that we can have it done, I'm sure he'll find it. If not, we'll go ahead and get it.
Just encourage Fred to bear in mind the safety and liability issues.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, Councilman Reynolds.
Oh,
I think
it's
that-
critical.
Yeah.
So everyone could meet here and sign up for, volunteering that afternoon and then be
Well, we could also-
designated where to go.
We could also ask people to wear, a lot of people, like I've got a fluorescent orange shirt.
A lot of
A
people
lot of
do.
people have fluorescent. They could wear bright clothing, we could request that too, that would be helpful.
But you also want to make sure that they have gloves.
You guys
So
are
that they're-
complicating this. Camp Florence, I'm not kidding you, that's the bad boy camp.
It is.
They are getting these people entered into society again. It's state, it's state insured, they've got all the safety equipment, and they have to do community service time. If you guys just went to Camp Florence and said, hey, we're doing
And
this
I've
thing.
hired the boys before, they're awesome. They're
Yeah,
hard work.
and the state carries all the
Yeah, they're
insurance, they
lovely.
have all the safety equipment, they have everything, and these boys are required to do that community service.
Okay,
Mayor, if we,
Yeah, thank you.
as part of the discussion here of the motion, if we were to get Camp Florence and there was a charge,
They won't charge you for community service, these boys have to do community service to re-enter society.
yeah, I understand. I'm thinking in terms of the way that, my experience is Murphy's Law. If something's going to go wrong, it's going to.
That's right.
As a safeguard, if that was the requirement, could the city administrator pay for Camp Florence to come out there and put the people out there to do it out of the tourism fund?
Well-
Send the bill to the county?
It's in the middle of the county.
I'm just
Well, I
trying-
don't know, I
I'm
think
trying
we're
to think of
thinking
ways.
outside the
Yeah.
box and I think we should probably try, I agree with Liz, it's all our responsibilities and we should try to, take it upon ourselves to to do this on our own and, you know, use, you know, be a volunteer and get into the community and utilize our available resources to, you know, make this a nice, you know, a good event for cleanup before our big event. And I kind of don't, I know that there's money involved because there's value in the rewards that we're proposing, but I don't want to make it I really would like to not have it be an outgoing of money from us.
It should be more grassroots than that, in my opinion, too.
I mean, that's my opinion, that we're in the discussion phase of this motion, and
So if there are fees, what if we can get several businesses to pony up, you know, whatever fees? I'm very good at fundraising.
okay.
I'll find business people that will put up money to pay for whatever we need. Oh, we're already needing, where there's gonna be some sort of dump fee. So I'm gonna go to county transfer and see if they'll, you know, what they'll do.
Well, there's that, but I'd rather see money spent on something like that as opposed to paying persons
Yes.
to do it. So, Counselor Mills. Forgot what you were gonna say.
Ask Sheldon, because I was gonna say, have Sheldon go first, because Sheldon.
I was just
Counselor
gonna,
Meyer.
I was going to reiterate that the Camp Florence kids, I mean, this is doing them a service as well to help them be trained and learn and become more responsible individuals and adults. And we've hired, Mary and I have hired him, I don't know, 5 or 6 times to come and do some stuff with us. And she bakes cookies. And
That's what I do when they come too.
and they get some pittance for their efforts, but those cookies have always seemed to be a good draw to get them to come back and help. I mean, there's lots of things that we could do that
Yeah.
is underscoring and helping these kids become better citizens as well. To me, that's a pay it forward kind of concept in terms of what we do now to help them is going to help all of us in the end.
That's all right.
Good.
Thank you, Counselor.
You're welcome.
Counselor Mills.
I think we can just leave it in our city administrator's capable hands to make a decision.
I second that.
Okay. All right. The motion on the floor is that we participate with a community-wide cleanup day, the first to be scheduled for April 26th, which is a Sunday afternoon. That's the motion. Any further discussion, counselors? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. And we extend to you our very warmest thanks for coming out this evening and giving of your time. And feel free, you're welcome to stay, or you're also welcome, to leave, but there is cake.
Well, I'm gonna,
Strawberry shortcake.
Fred and I will be, if it's all right, I'll contact you tomorrow and we'll get a plan that
Figure
we
it
will
out.
then give to, everyone, so that as closely as we can, we'll have things lined out.
Right.
And make phone calls and,
Yep.
okay?
Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. I am just thrilled. Thank you very kindly. This is going to be a good thing.
Thank you, Liz.
Bike path set-aside exemption from Oregon Department of Transportation. It's agenda item new business 8B. Mr. Hilden,
Thank you.
you're on there for the discussion.
The city for the last at least 5 or so years that I'm aware of, and I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that, but has received comments in our audit from our auditor that we have not done an adequate job of dealing with the 1% of our ODOT apportionment that's required by Oregon revised statutes to be set aside for the dedicated use on bicycle and pedestrian paths. And so I'm on record tonight as having communicated with our regional manager of ODOT, Franny Brindle, in Eugene, and Springfield, excuse me, and I'm extremely pleased to announce that while Dune City does not qualify for an exemption as suggested by our auditors, because The exemption level is set at $250 annually. Your income has to, for the bicycle pedestrian path set aside has to be of 1%, has to be $250 or less per year to qualify for an exemption. Well, Dune City receives approximately $75,000 from ODOT for our annual apportionment. And so 1% of that number is $750. And obviously that's not less than $250. So we do not qualify for an exemption, but I'm pleased to say that Ms. Brendel was able to provide me with information that allows us to designate street sweeping as one of the official uses of that money so that we can kind of get this monkey off our back. So I will be moving forward with that with our auditors and ODOT and make sure that we are in total compliance with the Oregon revised statutes, and so I'm very pleased about that.
Follow up, just because, you know, I like to do thinking outside the box. Could we construe perhaps apportionment of what we're undertaking with the cleanup of these streets? I mean, could we tie that in some way?
I don't, you know, that's a really good suggestion, Mayor, but I don't think we need to. In fact, I think what I'm gonna try to do, because this has been a historical issue, and technically, if you read the Oregon revised statute, it says that you can only do that for 10 years, is set aside that money to be used at some point. What I'm gonna try to do with, in coordination with ODOT and our auditor, is designate expenses from 2011 and 2012 and 2013 and 2014 that are already documented as part of our audits to consume that set aside. So it's totally free, it makes the issue go away.
Yeah, okay.
Plus, it allows us to sweep some of the streets in this town that have leaves and needles in
Right.
the areas that the sun doesn't shine, it's wet, it's mushy and slippery. Those need attention, not all the streets, but there are some that really need it bad.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
That would be helpful.
And that amount right now is somewhere in the neighborhood of $14,000, so it's,
Okay, That will further reduce our road fund limit.
well, it takes the monkey I'm trying to get off our back is the audit issue.
Use it or lose it is what we're facing.
Yep.
So I would rather use the 14,000 than lose it.
I agree with that.
So
I agree with that, Counselor, yeah.
So anybody have any questions?
Any questions, counselors? Okay.
I want to thank Councilor Sanders for kind of being the motivator behind this. Thank you.
Good job, Fred.
Okay. Okay, is that everything,
That's it
Mr. Hill? Okay.
on that.
All right, so then let's talk about City Hall seismic and wind evaluation.
As everyone knows, we're about to embark on spending a pretty substantial amount of money on a backup generator for City Hall. And, you know, I don't spend $20,000 of the city's money lightly. Fortunately, we were able to secure a 75% grant against that commitment from the Ford Family Foundation. Again, compliments to Linda Stevens for her effort on that grant application. She did it totally on her own. So the long and short of it is, don't want to spend that money on this building, knowing that the primary requirement for that backup generator system is going to be a Cascadia event, which is called a major local earthquake in the 9.0 area, 9.0 to 9.2, which would create a near tsunami, which would activate the local, if you will, the near tsunami inundation zone, which does include a lot of the Westlake area. So my concern is a 9.2 earthquake in this area could have substantial damage to the building, and I'm reluctant to spend the money, spend $20,000 on a backup generator for a building that may or may not withstand a 9.0 earthquake, or the better part of that earthquake. And I'm not saying that every square inch of this building needs to be untouched, but I'm saying it needs to survive the earthquake in order to function as any kind of an assembly area or provide for anyone's needs relative to that. So I contacted our city engineer, Tom Hart, at the Dyer Partnership, and civil engineers are not, especially structural engineers, are not very common people. I was actually surprised that it doesn't appear that there's anybody on the central or southern Oregon coast that's certified to do that kind of evaluation. The Dyer Partnership isn't, and not even the civil engineering firm in Coos Bay that has recently come on scene. And so Tom made a recommendation of a gentleman that I believe is in the, as I recall, he's up to the northern coast, and his name is Tim Walden. I put a copy of my email exchange with him in the council packet, and he's given me an estimate, or a quote, if you will, of $1,000 to do a lateral assessment of this structure, of this building, the entire building. And I think, I personally think that for both seismic and wind, I think that's money well spent. I think it would be foolish to spend $20,000 on a backup generator for a building that's not going to be standing afterwards.
Okay. Councilor Mills?
Stacy indicated that there are people within FEMA that can do that. Can you just take a few minutes and talk to her first?
I can.
And see if she's
Sure.
got somebody that she can make a phone call and
Yep.
they show up?
Yep.
I mean, that would be great.
We have budgeted funds in the motel fund. That would be a legitimate use of this money. And again, I think it's, and that's again, spend it or lose it money. So what I'm looking for council is authorization to spend $1,000 on a seismic evaluation of the building.
Okay. Councilor Scarberry?
Yeah, I have a question just popped in my mind about that. So we spend $1,000 to get this done, and then the study comes back showing that this building won't hold up to a 5.0 or 6.0. Then what do we do?
Well, if in his email to me, Counselor, excuse me for not waiting for you to call on me, Mayor, his evaluation will also include an upgrade recommendation and estimate. So he will not only tell us whether or not the building is going to withstand the kind of event that we're talking about, or the wind level event, but it will also include an upgrade recommendation.
Go ahead.
Is this built on a slab, the whole building?
I don't believe so. I believe it's built on a peripheral foundation. We've done a fair amount of research on the structure, and it's interesting. His email says he went online and looked at some pictures of the building, and he thinks it was built in the 70s to 80s, and since we got this email, most of this reconstruction was done on City Hall in 1974.
The greatest concern being this wall here that is not enforced.
It's
wall.
brick, it's
Concrete block.
concrete block, yeah. And a fireplace is there. So,
Mayor?
Yeah. Are you?
Yeah.
In 1994, in Northridge, my parents' house, stick-built, peripheral foundation like this. And it took the earthquake, and the only problem was the brick fireplace. It came down through the roof, through the ceiling, and it was an absolute mess. So I know what can happen. I went outside and looked at this fireplace. It's low level, it's right just above the roof line. Now, my parents were one of those, I had maybe 10 feet above it. And where it snapped was right at that roof line where the bricks leave the structure of the roof that provides some support.
Right.
I don't see that as a big threat here. So I personally think this would be good money well spent. If we have to do reinforcement, you're talking steel.
Still rebar.
Rebar on the outside, and you paint it, you can't tell it. I just don't think it's going to be, I hope I'm right. I don't believe it's going to be that big of an issue. I think it'd be a nice way to give some assurance that the next step in getting this generator is a good investment. So I support it.
I support you. Counselor Meyer?
I'm also in support of having this done, because if we don't ask the question, we don't know the answer. And so I'd like to know what the situation is, and then we can come up with a subsequent solution if it's gonna need to be different than that. But
Counselor Wells, you're our,
Well, I think just following Fred's lead, I think we put a lot of time in getting this thing, but I'm sure that it's usable come the event. So I think that would
okay,
kind
all right,
of step.
okay, all right.
And the only other thing I neglected to mention is I've also done a building walkthrough with our building official, Dave Mortier, who owns the building department LLC, the people we contract with for our permitting process. And Mr. Mortier pretty much echoed exactly what Councilor Sanders had to say. That's the only real, and Council President Mills, that's the only serious area of concern in the building. And the method of reinforcement is pretty much what Councilor Sanders described.
Awesome. Okay, so let's have a motion, please.
I make a motion that we direct and authorize the city administrator to spend up to $1,000 to have a facility inspection, seismic and wind evaluation done on City Hall.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion, counselors? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay. Moved. Oh, that's it. Unfinished old business. Oregon Dunes Triathlon and Duathlon. And Mr. Hillen, I believe you'll be giving the report in place of Miss.
On behalf of, thank you, Mayor. On behalf of our volunteer coordinator, Renee Green, I'd like to present her report on our current situation with the volunteer and merchandise pieces of the triathlon event. We have 29 days until the third annual Oregon Dunes Triathlon and Duathlon. As you can see in front of you tonight, we have received the merchandise, and that was actually came in on April 6th. It is a very nice bright red. We've already sold some. We did have to bump the price just a skosh this year. So t-shirts are $12, sweatshirts are $22 instead of $20, and hats are $16 instead of $15. And we still have some miscellaneous shirts and other items that we're gonna sell and just try to unload for $5. So anyway, we're really looking forward to this. It's gonna be another great event. As of the writing of this report, which was yesterday, there were 115 athletes registered for the May 9th event, with many of them being returning athletes. This number is expected to increase daily. In fact, it has been increasing at about the rate of 5 people per day. So it's a good number.
Oh, wow.
So we could be up near our objective of 200 plus for the event. Renee has contacted many organizations around the Florence area asking for volunteers. I know some of the counselors have been contacted directly by Renee, and I appreciate all that you are doing as the counsel for the city on behalf of trying to help us recruit volunteers for this event. So we've done a great job with a press release. We put out in fact, we ran an ad in the Siuslaw News. And I think this, hopefully, this matter of putting out an offer of $250 to any group, any legitimate group who have people that actually show up on May 9th, and we are going to count heads on May 9th, will receive a cash reward from Dune City of $250. And that is really money well spent, because if it helps us recruit the number of volunteers we need, that's what's called getting the job done. So all volunteers receive a free t-shirt. And again, I just want to thank everyone that's helping us with this event. It's a great event, and I'm pleased that the city is, and surrounding area, because a lot of our volunteers are coming from outside of Dune City. So including our prior guest speaker. So in any case, I want to thank everybody that's volunteering and helping us recruit volunteers. We continue to work on sponsorships also, and that's moving along well. Unfortunately, we don't have either a presenting sponsor or a title sponsor as of this date, but I think our total sponsorship number is up around the 15 mark, which is 4 or 5 times what we had, or maybe not 4 or 5, probably 3 to 4 times what we had last year.
That's good. Councilor Mills?
Yes, Renee had contacted me and asked me if I would take over the sponsorship stuff because she just didn't have time and Fred's busy with budget. And so I told her I'd be willing to do that, provided you all understood that I am going to farm this out. So I would like to farm this out, if I may, at this time, and take just a few minutes. Okay, these are the groups that have been, the businesses that have been sent packets, and we have no response yet. Three Rivers Casino. Now, Becky, are you going to be contacting Mike?
No.
You're not going to contact Mike? Okay. Is there anybody that would be willing to contact Three Rivers Casino?
We've had some contact with them already,
Yeah.
so.
I have a contact named Jennifer
Jones. Jennifer Jones.
Right. Okay. And
Okay, I'm
I
gonna put you down on that one then.
put me on the hook for the casino, and I'll recruit Duke to help me if I need to.
Coastal Fitness? Can anybody deliver a packet?
Oh, I've got Coastal Fitness.
Okay, thank you. Oh, you got a packet? Or you need-
I got,
Okay. Sorry, I have to take my glasses off. Sand Dunes Frontier.
I'll contact Sand Dunes Frontier.
Siuslaw Coffee Roasters. Does anybody do business with them on a regular basis? I know Kelly does. Would you be willing to, Kelly?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Sue Gilday, State Farm Insurance. Anybody do business with her?
I do.
Kelly, you want to do that one? Wonderful. Sandland Adventures.
I'll do Sand Dunes
Can I do that one?
Adventures.
You do both
Yeah.
of those? Okay. Extapa. Now, Extapa has been a sponsor every year so far, and this year their packet was returned. Will you take care of that, Dick? Thank you.
What do you mean returned? Like back
It
in the
came back in the
mail?
mail,
Oh.
yeah. The letter came back in the mail. Fred Meyer. That one, unfortunately, they've said no only because we're not a nonprofit, which I think we should talk about in the future. Possibly creating a nonprofit organization, Friends of Dune City or something, that we can then qualify for some of these funding opportunities.
Can we show them our paychecks?
Yeah, let's show them our paycheck. I'll do Bynart because that's online.
I mean, is that something about Blair? I mean, would Blair need to be involved in that? I mean, we'll have to discuss that one a
Yeah,
little
we'll have
further.
to talk about it and see what, if anything, can be done. Restobar.
I got that one.
Yay.
You're
Needing-
connected to Bay Street, aren't you?
It really is, yeah. Needing relief. I don't
Put
even
it this
know
way,
what
I
that
think most of
is.
my paycheck on Bay Street.
I think it's
Needing relief, it's Terra Oils or something, I don't.
Jamie, you have to give me my homework assignment before I leave.
You'll have to what?
Give me my homework assignment.
Oh,
before
I will.
leave.
I'll put it all
I'm
together
agreeing
for
to
you.
this, but you have to give me a list.
keep going.
Dr. Holmes, Dr. Linton. Nobody has them as a dentist. June's Cafe.
I'll take Dr. Holmes.
Okay. June's Cafe, anybody know
I'll
that?
take that.
That you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did anyone take Dr. Holmes?
I did.
You did.
Sea Lion Caves, I'll take. He's my next door neighbor. On Your Feet,
I'll do that one.
Les Schwab. Nobody?
I don't know that one anymore.
You want to take that one,
I'll
Sheldon?
talk to him, sure.
Are they independently owned?
Less populated?
No.
Advantage Dental? I don't know. Papa Murphy's? I'll take Papa Murphy's. Me, the low-carb lady that doesn't eat carbs. I'll take Papa, give me pizza. Safeway, that was another one that I thought that they usually had been a sponsor in the past.
Safeway's never sponsored.
They never have.
Jamie,
Should we ask Bob?
does Dr. Hunt, the dentist, has he been contacted?
Not according to this list, because that's the next thing I'm going to say as soon as I get down to the bottom here, which we are, all right, we're done, we're down to the bottom. That's just the people that we've contacted, because this basically was people that I worked with, or Linda worked with, or Renee knew, or, you know. If you have people that you do business with on a regular basis,
Give me Dr. Hunt.
Hand me the
Thank you. Please.
please.
And then I think we might need some more,
yeah.
but.
That was
we can
all I
drop
had.
off Some of those, yeah. I have-
Also, while you're at those businesses, if you want to ask them if they want to bring in volunteers, I have volunteer sign-up sheets. Do you think that's too much? Do you think that muddles it when you go in there?
No,
Okay. Then we need some more of those too, because I'm out.
okay.
I
I can make more copies of
Yeah.
mine.
have a question of the city administrator here.
Okay, hang on.
That's it, I'm done. I just wanted to make sure. If you have somebody that you do business with, please, the more sponsors, the better, and we are looking for a big sponsor. Or, you know, looking for the title sponsor.
Yeah, so, all right.
What are you talking
So-
about, money wise for title sponsors?
7,500, okay.
What I'd like to ask the city administrator in regards to the putting out those ads, has there been a response?
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, from people I didn't expect. I mean, from people that were part of organizations that I didn't expect.
Do you think that from the responses you're getting, we're going to get sufficient volunteers up to 100?
I think so.
And what is the plan if we don't?
Punt.
Hunt, okay.
You don't have one then?
There really is not a good backup plan, other than Blair has, Blair Bronson, the owner of the event production company, has really good resources.
Are we doing a public service announcement on KCST?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sort of.
Jamie, I'll need those two things.
We're going to need more. I don't have any
Okay.
more. so.
I think we've got more already printed, so.
Yeah, I think so too. There's some in the office, so if you want to make sure that after.
So, well, after the meeting, we'll put them out for you to take.
Okay, so that's good. I made an announcement at Rotary last week, and so they are aware that we're needing volunteers. There's a group that stepped forward on the basis of the publicity about the $250 for their, volunteer efforts going to their cause or their, their group. And then I think, our counselor has,
We got 5 or 6 already signed up.
from your group that down there, so I didn't mean to say your group, but the group that you've
From those
been in
group.
contact with, yeah.
Those renegades.
Yeah, those renegades. So, I think the publicity is getting out there. I think the word's getting out there. There's going to be some more publicity on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. We've done a very good job of outreach to the surrounding communities, and I've kind of done a little bit to get that up a little bit this year. I've issued a challenge to the Mayor of Florence and to the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm going next Tuesday to issue a challenge to the City of Veneta. And, so we're just kind of the surrounding communities, we're making it kind of a fun event. And so, fellas, we're gonna have to, give you guys some spinach or Wheaties or whatever we give you.
Cheerios.
Because you know, the mayor has skin in the game now. What's on the line is hours of community service to, you know, the losing mayor of whichever cities that lose has to perform community service for the winning team's mayor.
Oh, honey, you're-
So, yeah,
Mayor Reedy.
it'll be
Be
fun.
careful with that.
Our goal, Mayor Reedy, our goal is to survive.
Survive, yeah, I do know that.
I want to be
I do
careful.
know that. Well, it's official, Florence has entered their team, they're on there, and we are waiving their entry fee. So that brings us to some further discussion. We're waiving their entry fee for the city, so I think we should waive our entry fee.
I disagree, Mayor.
We will pay.
We paid and we pay our own way. We're doing this as two individuals that just want to do it for the love of the city, okay?
It's all good.
Okay, well, all right, but, okay, I'll concede in that, but, you know, I think the fun publicity is well worth, you know, the entry fee, but we just have to figure out the technicalities of how to get them to be able to sign up without having to pay. I don't know. So,
I would suggest that, I have no problem with waiving the fees for these people, but for these communities to come in and compete, because the next year, if they win, they'll want to come back to reinstate bragging rights, and then they can pay their fees.
well, yeah, there, okay, so get out of.
It's a lost
fee.
leader.
Lost leader! I like that one, that's how I'm gonna sell that. Okay.
Pay it forward.
Stay forward, I
It's
like
like a
that.
sci-fi movie.
Lost leader, I like that one. It's a bait and switch. Or switch and bait, or one of those.
Bait and switch.
Bait and switch, there you go.
Catch and release.
Okay.
I was just gonna point out, you guys, that just happens.
Counselor Mills needs to say something.
There's also posters in there. So when you're going around, please ask them to put posters up so that we can get posters. Make sure you get enough posters to put up posters everywhere.
Okay.
Whether or not they sponsor or not, get a poster up.
Sure.
Okay. I'm done.
So, don't let your city down, fellas. Anything else? Anything else? Mr. Hilton?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just really pleased to announce that the city of Florence contacted me, a city official contacted me by email, or a city employee, I should say. So I'm sure it was an official request for materials on the triathlon and duathlon so that they could actively get behind this event and support it and assist with our efforts to recruit volunteers and sponsors. So it's a good thing, and it's obviously a very good thing for the city of Florence. I know we didn't have a whole lot of impact on the city of Florence's business's revenue in the first year's event of 2013 because I asked lots of questions from the people where I spend my money in Florence, and I asked those same questions after the 2014 event, and I got comments back that there was a notable increase in the amount of people that were here on Mother's Day Saturday, or Mother's Day weekend Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you.
You know, this is, I've heard comments, I mean, the comments we hear are just absolutely fantastic, and I just heard another one this morning from a person who regularly participates in these triathlons. I mean, on like more than one, you guys. And he said that this is one of the best organized events that he's ever been part of. And to me, that's very rewarding to hear that. To know that, you know, even though we are young in age in our event, that we are top drawer, top dog in the organization. And I really, you know, I appreciate the community and surrounding communities' support in making that possible. So it's really good.
Largely a function of our event production company,
Yeah.
Best in the West Events.
Anything else on the Oregon Dunes Triathlon? You guys, this is it. This is our last meeting before. Okay, all right, moving along. Active Shooter Task Force, Jamie Mills, Counselor Mills.
I attended the Active Shooter Task Force meeting on whatever day, March 20th, representing Dune City. The draft that was handed to Fred, to the city administrator, was distributed, marked confidential and distributed only to law enforcement agencies and Linda Cook. At that meeting, everyone read it, and she said it would be great to have that as an internal document within Dune City. However, it may be crafted for Dune City's purposes, and that Linda Cook will take on writing an active shooter plan for everybody, and it will be a boilerplate, simple thing, and so we anticipate in the future. Aaron, Sergeant Hober from the Lane County Sheriff's Department wanted to come here today from 4 to 7 to give us training, to provide training to Dune City councilors and staff, including a PowerPoint, discussion and scenario training. But I wrote this report as I was walking out the door to go to Nevada, and I emailed it to Fred. I tried highlighting it to make sure that he saw it, but I never got a chance to talk to Fred about it. And then when I got home, it was the last thing on my mind. And he asked me, well, is there anything else? And I said, no, I don't think so. So I forgot to. So Fred rescheduled and are postponed.
We're shooting for, well, yeah, we're shooting for the, what we're trying to do is set it up so that and you don't have to make 2 trips to City Hall. And that's why it was scheduled for 4 to 7 before the council meeting. My recommendation coming back at it is going to be to do like a 3:30 to 6 or maybe whatever, and then serve pizza or something like that to the council and have the council meeting. So we're shooting from the May council meeting, which I believe is the
We're shooting?
We're shooting for.
Yeah,
Shooting for.
all right.
We're shooting for the May,
Council.
yeah, the May 14th council meeting. Targeting, no, that's probably no better word, huh? We hope to schedule the meeting.
We're hoping to schedule this for,
Unfortunately, Sergeant Hober has been, he was actually off yesterday and today.
Oh, was he?
So at 3 o'clock this afternoon, after staff had made several attempts to contact him and his administrative group with no response, 0, I called Tom Turner's cell phone and said, Tom, I'm calling your cell phone because.
Yeah, can't
So-
get it any other way.
So I didn't get an answer from him either, but I did hear back from his staff. So anyway, that's the Lane County Sheriff's Department has always had a good relationship with Dune City, and I'm looking forward to that continuing. So hopefully he'll be able to make May 14th work. And hopefully that works for the council. It's obviously not mandatory in terms of your attendance, but I think it's a really good opportunity to, for us to get some good training. And I know staff will be involved.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
And Council President Mills, I apologize because you highlighted it for me and I should have been all over that.
Oh, I should have remembered it, but I didn't. I can't blame you entirely. The next meeting will be April 17th at 10 a.m. That's, I just want that there. That's all.
Thank you, Counselor.
Here.
Emergency generator and propane tank, Mr. Hillman.
Active shooter, executive session.
Thank you.
What? Just a second.
What?
I'm so
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
I
I'm
beg your
sorry.
pardon. There's a second part to this.
Well, we had discussed the requirement or the need to maybe have an executive session relative to the portion of the active shooter task force draft that was prepared by Council President Mills on behalf of, or for Dune City. Because there are portions of that protocol that, as Councilor Sanders pointed out, are not appropriate for disclosure. In fact, there are records that are exempt from public records disclosure. So, Oregon Revised Statutes provides that those materials that are sensitive in nature relative to the city's need to respond to some kind of an emergency like that are in fact exempt from public records disclosure. I have talked with the mayor and Basically, we've decided that we'll work the plan without having to have an executive session, and just know that if the council wishes to look at that document when it's completed, you'll be welcome to come into City Hall and look at the document, but no copies of it will be released. So I hope everybody is satisfied with that option as opposed to having an executive session.
Good deal.
Yep, good
Okay.
deal.
Thank you.
Mhm. Now moving to the generator and emergency services and emergency generator.
So, an update on the Ford Family Foundation grant. They issue checks they plan on cutting those checks on April 15th. So that's kind of exciting. We'll get this seismic evaluation done, and we're working through the process of location. I'm really pleased that because of how we're going with this 20K generator, that we won't need to construct a facility to house it, nor will we be required to construct a facility to house the propane tanks that we will be using, because we will be using propane tanks in closer proximity than the state fire marshal allows. For a 500-gallon tank, we'll be dropping the size down to 120 gallons and just using multiple tanks. We can gang up to 4 tanks, which is the equivalent of 480 gallons of propane, without the requirement, still being under the guidelines and allowances of the state fire marshal. And we've had our local fire marshal, Sean Barrett, out to verify that. So we're making really good progress on that. I think it's just going to be a really good thing for the city.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Sanders.
In regards to not having to house the generator, that's good news. Are we planning to somehow secure it with fencing so that thieves don't come in the night and take it?
We can if we choose to. It's going to be substantial enough in size and weight that it's not something you're going to be able to walk away with.
How about vandalism?
We'll have to see. I mean, it's going to be in a location where we could secure it with chain link fence. Basically, it's going to be out the back door, very close to our electrical panel. No, out the south door, the conference room door, where you pick up your packets.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
At the back of the building where it's not highly visible.
In the former smoking areas where the
Yeah.
tanks will be, okay.
Former smoking area.
Former something. Exactly.
Nice to switch in times.
It's one way to get them to quit.
Um,
Put something flammable.
Do we need to take a 5-minute recess? It is 12 minutes after 8, so 5 minutes. 5. All right. I will reconvene the meeting. It is 8:20. And we are at agenda item 9E, Dune City Comprehensive Plan. Mr. Hillen is going to take that one, and he desires some instruction to staff.
Well, I guess I should have probably done a better job of looking back at the minutes, but we've spent a lot of time on it as a city, and the council has too on our comprehensive plan. And I know we had a discussion at a prior council meeting. Bear with me, this has been a little bit of a difficult winter for me. So what I really want to be clear on is the direction that council would like staff to take with respect to an update to the comprehensive plan. I believe Councilor Sanders had made a recommendation, but I don't believe it was ever really thoroughly fleshed out and voted on relative to the update to our comprehensive plan. I believe his recommendation was to have staff look at sending the first section of the comprehensive plan to a contract planner that he knew of in Portland, who has been overseas, and while she's available to work long distance, her rates would be substantially less than what we had been quoted by our contract planner with LCOP. So basically, I just want to confirm that. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time discussing it. I just want to make sure that that's the direction the council would like staff to go.
I think yes, I think, we've talked about it and, this is pretty much an email kind of a thing anyway, so I think she could adequately fulfill the engagement, so
Okay?
I just think $40,000 to get
That's correct.
attorneys to do it is just not, good
Actually, but that would have been our
common
plan.
sense
Yep.
strategy on that, so not good. So we authorized any comments, and I think Fred just wants to bring it back up, so he is thinking we're still on that same
Right.
train of thought.
I like the idea of just taking it like one section and, or whatever that you said.
Yeah, that's a good.
A little bit at a time.
I think it was
Let's
a really
see
good
how it goes,
suggestion.
and we'll know, because I think it's going to be a learning experience for us too as we get into it. I think we're going to find that, oh, well, maybe we don't want to do it that way, we might want to do it this way or whatever, and I like the idea of just doing a little bit at a time and farming it out to somebody who's done it before.
Mhm.
This is budgeted, correct?
Yep.
I don't know how the pay would be sending money overseas, but that's a minor.
It's not our fault.
Yeah, it would have to be to a domestic bank account, and I'm sure that's not an issue for this person.
I don't know, okay, I'll let you deal with that.
Yeah,
Because I know nothing about Guinea, so.
okay, right.
Anyway, I support it.
I think, okay, so that $40,000 figure is just kind of really scary. And, I just don't think that we can't do that, number one. And then I would like to see, special attention to how much she's going to charge for a particular session, because or section, are you going to break it into 3 sections and then it's going to be,
I'm guessing it's going to be more like 5 or 6 or 7 sections, somewhere between 5 and 7.
and so this initial
And-
engagement is going to be for,
One section for a fixed price, and I don't think that's an issue. I think we're talking about, a number that's in the 10 percentile area of what we were quoted by LCOG for the whole plan. So I think we're talking about
Okay.
some pretty small numbers. It's really not even worth bringing to the council's attention. It's
Okay.
that small.
But if we do it this way, as you suggest, then you can evaluate to see if the value's there.
Right.
And I think that's the best way to approach it,
Well, and-
like test driving an automobile.
Yep. And it takes the load off of staff that's already behind. As you know, you've heard from the Planning Commission Chairman, Paul Gargas, at the last council meeting that staff is already up to its ears with Chapter 155 and other code modifications. And so that would be a good thing.
okay, that's absolutely good. So are you happy with the
I'm good with that.
direction? Okay.
Yeah, as long as nobody's raising their hand saying, wait a minute. Okay, thank you.
Certainly. Future revenue ideas is agenda item F, and this is a time when we're going to discuss, our funding sources and, perhaps get an update on the school tax, IGA, intergovernmental agreements, and garage sales. Jamie, so who wants to start? Jamie, you're number 1, so.
I'll go first, I haven't done anything.
Okay. Well, how much money can you realize out of a garage sale?
The most I ever did was $1,200, okay?
Well, that's kind of a lot, but I don't do garage sales, so I don't know.
Garage sales, if you have a good location for them, can be a pretty powerful source of revenue.
Okay.
Number one, if you put this out there, you do it right, you give everybody enough time. The city of Florence does a big garage sale at the event center. And it's, I think I've never attended one, but I've never attended one of theirs, but I believe all of that material is donated. And so, the logistics of it are a little bit of tricky, but I think it can be a pretty good source of revenue.
Counselor Wells?
I talked with one of the members of a local organization. They have a thrift store. All of the material is donated to that thrift store, and all of the people that run the thrift store is voluntary, and they last year turned $60,000.
Big money in recycling.
I mean, that's real money.
Yeah.
5-digit figures get my attention. Yes, sir.
It turned $60,000 last year. And if we could, you take it to Dune City, you have folks that have estate sale there, moving, they don't want all their stuff, they donate it to Dune City. Again, it's a logistics thing, well, we can do that. But it's something to think about, $60,000, and, out of a back room of a organization is pretty impressive money.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll work on it.
So we went from garage sale to $60,000. Oh. All right.
We went to thrift store. We went from garage sales to thrift stores.
It's better than a bake
Well,
sale.
we're thinking
It's better than
outside.
bake sale, that's right. Our
It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
No money.
Okay.
Moving on.
Expanding business license?
Well, those weren't my words.
Those were yours?
No, I'm not for expanding taxes and fees. The reason I brought that up was because, like I mentioned last time, I see so many business type people driving around out here, they're going someplace to do something. And I don't know what the whole business license list looks like. But the reason I brought that up, because there are people that they come in and they buy their business license. But there are a lot of other people, I'm pretty sure, that don't. Like Jamie mentioned last time, we don't have a way of enforcing that. So it's a thing that's there that I don't think is working because it's voluntary. Because we don't have a compliance officer that sees somebody going to like clean a chimney or to power wash somebody's plate. I mean, there's no way to enforce it. So the only reason I brought it up is because it's unfair to the people who are actually paying the fee. And as far as in the beginning when they said it was to protect Dune City residents, if a person isn't wise enough to make sure that the roofer, their contractor, or someone that they're hiring is licensed and bonded, it's not our job to protect them. So we have the business license on the books now, but I don't know where we go from here. The people that voluntarily come in and re-up it every year, yes, but what about the new ones and the people that maybe not even know about it? I don't know how to gather those in.
Well, I was under, okay, let's just go back. I didn't vote for it in the beginning, back when I was a counselor. I don't think you did either, but, because I thought it was, it wasn't equal. It didn't apply to everybody. It just applied to, contract people, kind of, like if you're gonna, construction industry type contractor folks. So it didn't apply to everybody. And then I thought, well, why don't we just, do away with it? And then I said, well, how much money does it bring in? And he said about $4,000. I'm like,
What's the cost? If it-
it was set up to be a cost-based system, but I know we're not spending $4,000 a year to administer it. So, and the enforcement, we do have a method of enforcement. The way the ordinance was written, and again, I'm not disagreeing with Councilor Scarberry. I just want to be clear about why the ordinance was written the way it was written. And as you'll recall, I went on record last month as saying, originally when I was not even at the point that ordinance was brought on board, the city administrator, I didn't support it either because it wasn't equal. It didn't apply to storefronts and so on. So, but it was written to make sure that anyone who is required to pull a permit has a business license. So the enforcement mechanism is the permit. If you don't have a valid Dune City business license, you're not able to pull a permit for either structural, mechanical, electrical, or plumbing in Dune City. And that's how the ordinance was written, and that's how it's being enforced, and that's why we've got the number of people with business licenses that we have. But Councilor Scarberry is absolutely right. Those businesses that are exempt from permit requirements, like chimney sweeps and people like that
Lawn maintenance.
are flying under the radar in terms of a business license. But again, the ordinance wasn't written to try and protect the citizens of the city from those kinds of businesses. So again, I'm just trying to explain why the ordinance was written the way it was written and how it's enforced.
It is kind of interesting that when it was written, it was pointed at a certain group that maybe another certain group didn't approve of. Because to me, a business license is all encompassing, a business, anyone who does business. You know, that's the way the city of Florence looks at it, and most other cities. So maybe they misnamed this, maybe it should be a city contractor's license fee.
Contractor's fee.
Or something like that. When I first saw that this was passed years ago, oh, business license. So I've been under the misunderstanding that, you know, it's pointed at anyone who does business in the city of Dune City. So maybe the name needs to be changed to make it more reflective of what it is.
That's interesting.
I would point out that the language actually lists all businesses and then exempts everyone except for those who are contractors. So, I mean, because that's the way it was written. It was written to grow, to eventually supposedly apply to everyone. The only reason I know is because I wrote it. The mayor asked me to write it at the time. This was
I
not
was not
Becky.
the mayor.
This was not Becky. And I wrote it and then voted against it because I hated it. I didn't want it. But that's the way it was written. It does apply to everybody except for that exemption. So it'd just be a matter of
Doing away with the
doing
exemption.
away with the exemption, and then it would apply to everybody. And I guess we just
And we do have.
go with
code-
the honor system, you know?
Well, no, we have a code enforcement officer.
That would be you.
Yeah, we do. And if it's making enough money, I mean, if it's making 4,000 and you're not spending it, maybe you should dedicate a day a month or something, you know,
Right.
to go out.
Well, we do a fair amount of that because there are businesses that get by that, you know, that get by, there are like landscape maintenance businesses that are technically, the ordinance was written to include
Yeah.
that, if, you know, if I find out somebody's doing business in Dune City without a business license, I'm all over it.
At least that would address the fairness question, which has always been to me offensive.
Another thing to me, which, you know, begs the question is, you know, are we trying to expand business, you know, for Dune City and create work for our staff, or are we trying to reduce the workload for the staff? And so, you know, you kind of have to ask that question. If your purpose is to reduce workload for staff, that's something that would reduce workload if we were to do away with that. So, Councilor?
I'd like to dovetail on your comments because you hit spot on as far as I'm concerned. The idea behind this agenda item is to explore revenue opportunities. And if we reduce workload on staff, that reduces that expenditure, and that's the same effect of increasing revenues. So, I mean,
Has merit.
are we wasting money, or are we, I mean, is it just creating work unnecessarily, or what?
Relative, if I might take just a moment and reply to that, this particular agenda item is to try and come up with additional revenue generating ideas for the city. And in my opinion, and I apologize to Councilor Scarberry for misinterpreting his comments about the business license ordinance. Actually, I didn't misinterpret them, I just listed it incorrectly. But in any case, we're wasting our time discussing this item because there really is not a substantial amount of opportunity, since the ordinance was supposedly originally written to be a recovery only for staff expenses. This is not really a place where we have any opportunity to expand revenue. So in terms of anything that would have a favorable impact on the budget, if the council wants to get into this discussion during our budget meetings that are upcoming, I think that's a great place to have that discussion. But in my opinion, this item just to get nixed off of this agenda item. That's my
Okay.
opinion.
Consider it nixed off. School tax, intergovernmental agreement.
Again, I'll take this one because I've been in contact with Lane County. Again, kind of chasing after Counselor Scarberry's comment about the fact that they get to hold back 4%, where Dune City only gets to hold back 1%. I don't have an answer back yet from Lane County, but I'm at least in communication with the right people that can provide me with the Lane County Administrator staff. So I'm working that, and I hopefully will have information to share with you at the next council meeting. Again, we're not talking about big numbers, but every dollar counts. And instead of being able, on a 2,000 square foot home, instead of being able to hold back $20 out of the school excise tax, we would be able to hold back $80. So again, it's not a huge number, but $400 or $500 a year is a good number. It's worth chasing.
Yeah.
Councilor Scarberry.
And then again, following up on that, so like Maury mentioned, the main thing is we're not spending more staff time on each one of those
Right.
dollar-wise than we're paying. To me, there's so little activity out here now, and I'm not sure what the time frame that IGA was with the school district, but they have a lot more manpower in the district office. For someone to come out here, get their building permit and everything, have a copy of how many square feet it is, all they've got to do is go to the school district, they look at it, they charge you $1 per square foot and give you a receipt and you're done. I mean, that way it's off of our books. We don't have our staff having to worry about it. And the person takes their approval out from here, go to the school district and say, okay, how much do I owe the school district? And they've dealt with the school district for their part, they've dealt with us for our part.
So your suggestion would be, Councilor Scarberry, to terminate the IGA?
My memory serves me, it was a 5-year IGA. If we can get the 4% that the county is getting, according to what I went online and looked at the IGA that was signed in 2010, I think it was, then it makes sense. I mean, we're getting $80 for that 2,000 square foot house, so we're not going in the hole for our staff time.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, the rationale behind the IGA is there's no enforcement action. There's no reason for you to go to the school district and cough up the $1 per square foot. Again, it's tied to issuance of the building permit, which there is code enforcement of in Dune City. And that's why the IGAs were put in place with the people that issue the building permits, because there's no way for the school district to enforce it.
Unless they go to the school district first and then come here.
Well, bring me your receipt, yeah, I guess that's a possibility. It's still something that we would have to put in the permit application file and process, so I don't see a real gain there, Counselor.
When can we renegotiate the IGA? When does it terminate?
I believe it is a 5-year IGA, and I believe ours was signed in 2010 also.
It's coming up on the 5-year.
Yeah.
This may be an excellent opportunity to ask the school district to step up and make sure its partner, us, are not expending money that we can't recover for their benefit.
Definitely.
Okay.
And that was my only reason for bringing this up in the first place, because to me, it just didn't make sense on a house that size. And for the paperwork, and it carries through on our budget, and each month we see our financials, and it's carried through there as a line item. So if we're losing money, it makes no sense to be doing it. And I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me again, is that's why the county came back and made that counteroffer, because they weren't going to do it for 1%.
Anything else on this agenda item for discussion?
Tax base.
Okay.
All right, that's mine. I'll start off by saying that I am not advocating a tax-based ballot initiative be created. I don't want to see it. I don't want to have to pay that kind of money that the city would definitely benefit and solve all its financial problems with. However, the issue that I tried to bring up is that if you're standing on a railroad track at night, you see that light in the far off distance and it's slowly getting brighter. They call that in my line of work a clue that something bad is going to happen if you don't move or do take some action to get out of the way. Now, in 1996, I think it was, there was a resolution in this council to adopt a $60,000 tax base. It was defeated by the voters by a 67% to 33%, 2-to-1 margin. It is not a popular item. It is something that I don't believe the voters would approve at this time. It is something that I think needs to be put like an arrow in a quiver in case of desperation, pull it out. We're not there yet. Maybe things can change down the road in 3 to 5 years, that this can even be, the arrow can be taken out of the quiver. There's things that we can do as far as like the roads go, that a property tax base would allow us to maintain the roads. As the roads do not get their brushing and sweeping and the roots come up and destroy the pavement, we simply will not repair it. When the alligator in the roadway comes up and chunks start coming out and potholes are created, we would not have the ability to fix them and replace them. And that may have a negative impact to the value of the homes if someone's driving up to look at a home to buy and they're in a pothole-filled road, they're gonna say, whoa! But we're not there yet. That's some years down the road after deferred maintenance is not done on the roads. This is what you can expect. There are things that we can do short of a tax base. You know, if the city is basing everything upon a voluntarism type approach, I think the city needs to have the ability, as situations continue to deteriorate financially, to go to the public and say, you know what, to the people on, like my street on Kateach, there's 6 homes out there, your roadway needs to be slurry sealed, it's graveling, it's chunks are coming up, and everybody says, yeah, we need to do it. Okay, we need to have a mechanism to go to those property owners and say, you individually agree to pay half or whatever it may be, and the city coughs up at the remaining resources it has to do the other half to maintain it. It may take that type of approach, which people would not have to pay a property tax year after year after year, but they could certainly pay a fee that would give them direct benefit. And that's something that we may want to look at in our code and down the road as a way to, if we can increase the revenue, we can at least increase the buying power of what revenue we do have. And I would like to basically leave it at that.
I think that's a good suggestion. I mean, we're starting this dialogue in hopes that when that off train in the distance is becoming, a close reality in your peripheral vision, that we will have some things in that we've discussed and that we've done some background planning on, and we'll maybe have something, that will require citizen choice or, require, different thinking to get the need fulfilled. So I think, is that correct? You're just bringing this up so we can think about how to fund these things when we need to.
The public needs to know there's a problem. We have 6 vacancies or 7 vacancies on the budget committee. I forget what it is. We've got 1, 2, 3, actually this says 5.
Okay.
So we have 5 vacancies on the budget committee. I don't think people really understand what goes into the budget for the city to provide what services we do. I think if people knew how the budget worked, where the revenue's coming from, how it's being expended. I mean, this man over here is one frugal manager, all right? He guards our pennies, dimes, and nickels
Yes,
and
he
quarters
does.
religiously. It's not like we're just throwing money away to throw money away. We have some real problems coming up, and it's a structural deficit in the revenues going down slightly from the gas fund, and the cost to repair the roads and maintain them are just going well above it, that we will not be able to keep up with it. That is a fact of life, and I would encourage 5 people in our community to step forward and get on this budget committee. We need to have more people taking a look at this, seeing what the problem is, to help be advocates for solutions out there.
Great commercial for volunteerism. And, let's try, counselors, to bring in, a citizen to fill a seat. So we're not sitting there alone around the budget committee table. And because that's coming up, the 28th, or what do we say? We announced it?
28th.
28th.
Would you like to be part of it, Richard?
Dr. Anderson?
To me,
Yes?
Yeah. Budget committee?
Lots of experience.
okay.
I did my
Cool.
part.
That was a yes.
Thank you, doctor. We appreciate it.
Just one additional comment on that, Mayor, with respect to what Councilor Sanders is talking about. The structural deficit that he's referring to has largely occurred because of the loss of timber fund revenues that the city was experiencing, that Lane County was kind enough to kick back to local cities when the federal timber funds were a big number for the state. The federal timber funds are no longer a big number for the state. We are still receiving that money, but it's probably 10% of what it was. And so Lane County has made a determination that the small portion that's left over that they're getting, they're not willing to share with the cities. So we stopped receiving timber funds in 2007, and that was about $70,000 or $80,000 a year. And that's the kind of number that we need to maintain our city streets. And if you're wondering, we've got a project coming up that we're planning to do this summer, and it's a big number. We're looking at probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $70,000 to resurface, to reconstruct, because we've let it get to the point where it needs to be reconstructed, Russell Drive. So if you're wondering, if you live on a beautiful street like Teach, and you're wondering what we're talking about, go take a drive down to the end of Russell Drive past Rio, and you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll know what Councilor Sanders is talking about.
What I'm also kind of paint the picture here is, as the road commission chairman, I'll draw the analogy with a chef. It is like you have a master chef and you're saying, "Chef, I want you to make a 7-course meal." But all you get to work with is a bag of flour, some sugar, and a couple of eggs and some water. It just doesn't work. And we're going through that phase now where we're starting to put together and realizing where the problems are. And it must be addressed. However it's addressed, it must be addressed. And there must be a solution. And I'd really like to hear from the public, and if you can get some feedback, that would be great. The idea of sharing expenses to maintain roadways, so residents, the city will not have the money to do it all. And that's a fact with the money situation. But if the residents want to step in and allow us to have that ability to go in and share those expenses, I think that is a doable solution that would give us probably 15, 20 years, at least.
Leads right into-
Councilor Wells?
At the end of the last meeting, for the good of the order, I asked folks to get a hold of me this month and talk to me about the viability of this. And I took a little different tack when I talked to people. I talked with 23 people on this, and I asked, and 16 of them I know were retired folks. One of the ideas was thrown out there is exactly what you were talking about. One of the ladies goes, "Well, what about people having Dune City set up I don't know what the proper name for it is, but it'd be a gauge like you see when the hospital or the library wants funds and they start out at zero and they get to $100,000. Have one of them here by the kiosk or something, and when we know we're going to have a road rehabilitation and we need $20,000 or something, we go to the citizens and to go directly to the road fund, not to the general fund, but to the road fund for the roads. And people were all over that. They would be willing to give to that kind of a deal, because the reason is folks do appreciate the work that our A-plus audit that we got back, you know, they know that doesn't happen. And large cities would love to have that audit that we got here. The other thing that they appreciate, they drive from Florence on state and county roads. And the roads in Dune City, for the most part, are way better than any of the county and the state roads that they drive to get to Dune City. And they appreciate that. So there is an appreciation there. And people that I've talked with are willing to step up and to help out with that. So I thought that was pretty informative that, you know, one, that people are paying attention to what we're saying here and came forward and, you know, wanted to talk.
Yeah, that was.
And that they were willing, there's an appreciation for the good roads that we have, and I think most people want to maintain it and are willing to come out of their own pocket to help, so.
If we have people wanting to join the budget committee, for example, mayor, between now and the 28th when we meet, how would they be approved to sit on it? Would the council act at that budget committee meeting as a council and approve it, or what?
We'd have to, if I may, Mayor, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely.
We'd have to either schedule a special session of the council at the beginning of the budget meeting and call it a city council meeting and announce it as such special session where those people could be approved prior to the beginning of the budget committee meeting, because they have to be appointed by council, by our code, and
Then
But that
I suggest we schedule that so Dr. Anderson can be appointed to the budget committee.
Okay, anybody else? So when do we want to schedule that?
right at the beginning of the budget committee meeting.
Well, that's a good idea. All right, so
April 28th.
15 minutes?
Probably. Long enough to take a roll call, you know, to
Yeah.
roll call, pledge of allegiance, approve the agenda, and
Okay,
approve the appointments.
all right.
We'll schedule it for 30 minutes, but I don't think
Why
we'll take
don't we,
that.
why don't we schedule it and then have the budget committee as part of the agenda? We recess from council and just start with the budget
We'll
committee.
figure it out.
That way we don't have to
I'm good with that.
duplicate.
Figure it out.
Good idea. Good.
Sounds good.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Tell us when to show up.
Just send us an email and say when to show up. Okay, good discussions. Anything else? Comments on Counselor and Sanders' comments? Comments on the comments on the comments? Okay.
Makes
All right.
sense?
Pardon me?
That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely makes sense. Getting things accomplished. Okay. Moving on to committee reports, moving on to committee reports. I know you all saw that Lane County has put on the front of their dais a very nice plaque that commemorates all the cities that make up Lane County. And I corresponded via email with their county administrator and asked if we could use the pictures that they provided in our next newsletter, because I think anything that we can do to better communications between the county and our city is worthwhile. And I want the citizens to know that we you know, care about that communication, and that you know, they're reaching out and engaging us. So I think that was a very good gesture of engagement towards our city and the other, you know, and the 12 cities that make up Lane County. And I just was thrilled when I saw that. I think it's a good thing. So I shared a lot of the activities that I've done over the past month earlier in the presentation. So I'll move along to report for Communication and Education, Councilman Mills.
Oh, we didn't have an official committee meeting, but the newsletter that was mailed out is in your packets tonight. So if you have any comments about that, please let me know.
Comments are, that's a very nice newsletter, and thank you all that contributed.
Thank you, Rapunzel
Yeah.
and Fred. Anyway, I'm working on the next newsletter even as we speak, because that's the way it works. You have to do that or it doesn't get done. So I'm looking for ideas, and if Councilor Sanders wants to put something together about the problems with the roadways, I'd be more than happy
I can put some,
to include that. And maybe some photos of the Russell Drive area that you're talking about or something.
Can I comment on this?
Which one is that?
This is the newsletter about private well maintenance, and I wanted to say thank you. In case,
Oh, maintenance,
I
okay.
would really ask everybody in this community to read this. Now, I have a personal vested interest in this because my wife, I'm not going to get into it, my wife had an elevated level of a substance in her blood that is not part of the normal testing, just for nitrates or the bacteria. I also experienced a failure on a copper valve that was eaten away rather rapidly since it had been there for about 3 years, and that's because of low pH levels. These tests on private wells and the water systems in our area, I strongly recommend you do it. The content of the water can be changed, that's why you want to do at least annual testing. I have a rusted out valve to a pump that it shouldn't have done that, but it was just a drop in the pH levels, which means the acidity is increased, which means we're drinking it. And in part of this education that I received from the information that you were putting out, caused me to ask some questions here at City Hall. And what I learned is that this city, in that sink in there, that people have cups and get water out of the faucet, that is not potable water.
Oh.
And we need to have a sign there to prevent people from drinking, don't drink the water. I would really ask that we get a sign posted there in bright red, do not drink the water from this faucet. Because people like me, as dumb as I am at times, I just go in there and and I really don't want to get sick, and I don't want to see anybody else get sick.
Okay.
So, I'm very sensitive to this at this point,
Wow.
but I'll get over it.
If she says you can,
I'll have to look into that one. All right,
Good to know, thank you.
good to know. Mhm.
That explains why my copper pipes are rusting out. I got a hole in one.
All right, I'm almost speechless about that one. Okay, anything else on your?
Yeah, I'm great.
Okay, so how about ordinance review?
Ordinance Review Committee did not meet, but however, well, yeah, ordinance, we didn't meet. But our one member, we are still looking for another member for the Ordinance Review Committee. The one member is now back in town, so.
Very good. All right, community center, Councilor Wells.
Still working on spring cleanup. We spread some bark around yesterday, I think it was yesterday morning.
It's beautiful.
We've got about 3/4 of it. We got about a quarter to go yet. We got to weed this, some more weeding before we spread more bark. And then the kiosk area up there, I need to get in there with a hoe and clean that all, get all the grass out of there. But it's coming around.
Save some of that work for the Florence mayor to do during his community service to us.
Oh, yeah.
How's that for trash talking?
That's
Okay,
confidence. I like
I
that.
like that. Thank you so much. Parks and Recreation, Councilor.
Conservation.
Oh, sorry, Conservation. Pardon me?
Nothing.
Oh, okay, all right, no report tonight. Parks and Recreation.
We have our first quarterly meeting next Thursday. One of the agenda items is going to be talk about cleaning up the overlook out here.
Okay, yeah, ongoing conversation.
Did we solve the problem of people throwing trash under the overlook over here?
Well, the weather's kind of done that right now, but when it gets nicer, we'll have to start talking about it.
Okay.
How often do you go down there and look at it, or do,
Once a month.
okay. Thank you for doing that. Road Commission report. Councilor Sanders.
We have roads, they're paved.
Right now.
And then we're going to have a road commission meeting in a week and a half. And we're going to review the bid documents for the Russell Rio project that was recommended by the road commission. And if approved, we're going to have those bid documents go out conditioned upon, obviously, the award being upon approval of the budget by the city council. but it gives us a chance to get out there, get the bid, find out who's going to do it, put them on point, and have everything scheduled for July 1st when the weather's good, so we can just hit the ground
Do it.
running. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're putting up, we're getting some deferred maintenance projects and some of the roads lined up in a prioritization that we're going to attack in next year's budget. And that'll be part of the submission, so that's part of the extra $20,000 I spoke about before. So it's coming. Stand by.
Stand. Thank you, Counselor. Water Quality, Counselor Meyer.
We had a meeting, and there were 3 of us present, Bonnie, Alan, Chris, John, and myself. And upon conferring with Fred, I think we had a quorum even if we're not considering any of us bipolar. But the reports were still, I think, very positive in terms of the Secchi reports, and the pH is maintaining its level, and so things are still looking good in the lakes, I guess.
Awesome. Counselor Mills?
As many of you may know, Ralph Farnsworth passed away recently, I believe it was March 26th. And the Water Quality Committee has, by the graciousness of Mr. Farnsworth, been using his boat to do the water testing. Now that he has gone, the boat is actually owned by his son. He gave it to his son a few years back, but they allowed to continue to use it. So now more than ever, I think we're going to need someone on Wohink Lake who has a boat that is willing to work with the water testers. I think for now we're probably okay, but I think in the very near future, we're going to be looking at a rather dire situation when it comes to getting out into and testing at the sites that the DEQ has previously set out as the places to test.
You know, Jamie, I think it maybe merits a substantial article in the newsletter to detail exactly what it is, because I don't know, I mean, we're asking for folks to do this, but it's more than just, take your boat out here. It has to go to a specific place, specific times of days, or certain days, or
It's
certain
just
times
one
of
day
day.
a month. It's just one day a month, and usually they wait till the weather's good. That's what drives when they do it.
Okay, so
What's
it's
the
one
weather
day a
like.
month. So if we had an article that kind of, maybe showed, or told exactly what the details are of how to do that, we might get a person that's interested, and maybe we could twist some arms or something. And
I think the other thing that's important in that article or whatever would be to explain how much time of the day. It doesn't take, we're not talking about 8 or 9 hours, we're talking about, I think, a couple hours. So, and the city reimburses gas, so the out-of-pocket expenses for that activity is covered by the city as part of the city's budget. It's approved by the budget committee and council every year. So I think we just need to get that explanation out, and I believe there's enough people with boats in the water all year that are willing to do that, even people that are willing to launch their boat to do that once a month. So, thank you.
Sure, yeah. And I think, that it just merits some publicity, and maybe we can.
And we still have some openings, some vacancies.
On your water bottle?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, so, okay. There's 3 volunteers that I've been in contact with that are just purchasing new homes in the area. And they promised that they're going to get on a committee or 2. So I'm keeping tabs of that. They're moving dates soon. So, very good, thank you. Anything else?
No?
All right.
Well, I understand Governor Brown, Jerry Brown's looking for some water.
Oh, yeah.
Don't give them any ideas.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Moneymaker.
I know. There you go. So, emergency services. Emergency services report, Mr. Hilden.
Thank you, Mayor. In the interest of time, I'm gonna, you have my report in the packet.
Okay.
I will cover the fact that we've been spending an incredible amount of time, and I'm not complaining or because I think it's a very, very important activity. We have been spending a lot of time with the consultant, Stacy Bird, that's been retained by West Lane Emergency Operations Group, and that's progressing very well. And I want to commend Council President Mills for her assistance to city staff and her, again, volunteer efforts to help us through that process. So, thank you.
Yeah, many hours that you spend at those meetings. Thank you.
Add something
Yes.
to that? There was a question brought up in the past, we've all discussed it, as to what responsibility or liability the city would have under law in the event of a major catastrophe like that. And basically what it is you would be responsible for what you do now. Well, we don't provide housing now, and we don't provide water now, and we don't provide electricity. The only thing we do provide is roadways. So as far as the city is concerned,
No liability.
well, except for roads,
Right.
that's it. That having been said, I want you to all go home, please, and ask yourself, if it's a 9.2 quake, and everybody is homeless, how do you think we should address it? Or should we even address it? Just, I want you to think about that, because I would like to have that conversation in the future. I have an idea, and I think you all will agree with the idea, but it's not gonna work unless everybody's on board, so.
You're talking about a continuity of government scenario.
Well, continuity, yes, clearly that, which is also separate, but I mean, the fact that you're looking at your neighbors or yourself and you're living in a tent in your front yard or whatever. To me, I think our move would be to make sure we hit hard on the education end of things and make sure everybody has their own tent or an alternative housing source or the ability to house in place on their own property. So anyway, that's just my opinion. I'd like to have that conversation in the future.
In regards to your liability comments, we are talking about this being an emergency shelter. Part of the discussion, so now is that a service that if we don't provide it, we're liable? You said we would, if we don't provide the services, we're not.
Right,
But
true,
however-
we are not liable. However, under that circumstance, if we are an emergency evacuation center, you're evacuate temporarily, then Red Cross has the shelters that you farm people out to. Red Cross would be here for the medical care and well, Red Cross and others.
We're still not the primary service provider.
Yeah, we're still not the primary service provider.
What I'm actually hearing from this is that we do need a continuity of government because we do have an emergency management plan and things like that we need to be able to step in. So I'm thinking there's at least two scenarios involved. I think the idea of having a discussion like you want is very relevant.
Yes, and the continuity of government, this is one of the reasons that the county is doing all of this, because they want everyone, every small city to have their own plan, and that's why they facilitated the hiring of Stacy Burr, and it's a county-wide effort, and so we will have an end product. I can't recall, was it next June that the end product is going to be? September 16th.
15.
Of this year? Okay, that's
the
fast.
target. It's aggressive.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
aggressive.
It's
Okay.
very aggressive.
Training was supposed to happen in June.
Okay, all right, so, thank you. Thank you, Counselor, for all the dedication you're putting into that. Final report here?
Yeah, city administrator report. Again, most of the information in my report has already been discussed on other agenda items this evening. I guess the one thing I do want to comment on is the newsletter. Dune City continues to, in my opinion, present one of the finest newsletters of any city in the state of Oregon to its citizens, considering the relatively little staff time that goes into it, and the fact that it's largely a volunteer effort. And again, this particular issue, many of the articles were written by Council President Mills, and Rapunzel owns the responsibility for the actual production of the newsletter. So hats off to both of these fine ladies.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, it's beautiful. Good of the order. Counselor Meyer?
I'm good.
None. Good, all right. Counselor Wells?
I'm good.
Counselor Sanders?
Let them eat cake.
Let him eat cake.
That
Okay.
means us.
Okay.
I'm excellent.
You're, and he's, okay, Counselor Platt, Counselor Scarberry,
I'm fine.
Counselor Mills.
Okay, two things.
Two things, good of the order.
Western Shelter demonstration will be across the street in the parking lot. I don't know whether they said Charles or the.
It's Charles.
Is that
I
Charles?
confirmed it's the old Charles
It's the
location.
old Charles location from 11:30 to 12:30. It's going to be a demo on emergency supplies and it's for everybody. It's not just for the people that are busy trying to put together an emergency plan. And then on Tuesday, that's the 13th, Monday the 13th from 11:30 to 10:30 to 12:30, sorry. And then communications, ESF 2 is from 1 to 4 on Tuesday. These are all, this is at the fire station. ESF response forum, that would be the response organizations, which would include the city to a certain degree, or again, continuity of government, is 1 to 4 on Monday the 13th, also at the fire station. And then ESF 14, public media, is from 9 to 12 on Wednesday the 22nd.
Okay.
Some of them have been canceled.
But that's the wrong month.
He's kidding. All right, I'll entertain a motion for
I
adjournment.
move we adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's 12 minutes after 9.